everyone, Amy here. Welcome back to my channel, Paper Therapy with Amy. I'm glad you've come to spend some time with me. I want to show you some papers I've pulled. Now these two I've had in my stash for a long time. I picked them up on a sale, 25 cents a sheet. You know, we all go to those craft sales, and I thought one day my boys are gonna drive and I'm gonna need these papers. So it's about time I used them a little bit. I'm not as keen on this antique car. I really like this car because when my son bought a car, that's his car. So it basically is this little car, it feels like. Anyways, and this little speedometer is perfect because he is definitely a speed demon. These are older pictures. And I also have the day that he did get his driver's license and then when he bought his first car. And these happened about, one was May, and I think I wrote them on the back. So May, August. So I'm going to scrapbook one side and then the other side, and it's kind of going to be one layout together because it's all about him driving. So this is Mix In. These are two authentic collection. It says it's, they're both different. This one says balanced and this one says instrumental. So if you're looking for those, maybe you can still find them. But, and this is the previous mix-in, or one of the previous mix-ins, and it has this red plaid on the back, but I thought this red worked good to pull kind of the red speedometer thing and the red out of my son's car. I'm starting here on 2 sheets of mink cardstock. I tried a few in the background and I decided this was the best one. And I'm going to cut these pictures here down to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I'm going to put a 1/4 inch white trim around them so they end up being, well, I guess it's 1/8 of an inch white trim. Anyways, so they'll end up being 4 by 4. Once I've got a trim around all my pictures, then I'm going to start bringing in some different pattern papers. I've decided I'm going to put them all in a row beside each other, so it's going to be kind of a linear layout. I'm the best at those and they come together the easiest for me. So the pictures with the pickup truck on the left-hand side of the page are the day my son got his driver's license. He was I believe 17. COVID kind of held up doing your driver test, so he wasn't able to do it until he was 17. And the one on the right side is later that year when he bought his first car. So it's a cute little red car and he's still driving it today, although he talks about selling it now and upgrading to something different. The white trim that I had around the picture of the red car was a little bit wider, and I decided that I'd rather have the picture itself a little bit smaller or double mat it. So I'm going to double mat it on this pocket card, and I'm just going to gut out the center of the pocket card so that I don't waste what's in the middle because it says "Hey dude" or something like that. So I cut a few 4.5 inch strips of this mix-in paper, and now I'm just kind of seeing how I want to lay these pictures out so that they're sort of the focal point in the center of the page. That's a style you'll see me doing a lot. I like to kind of have the pictures grouped together and the decorations be around the outside. I don't know why I like that the best, but I just like the way it looks. I am kind of keeping the red car picture a little bit separate on this layout just because it's a different day and a different occasion, but I still wanted it to be like a cohesive layout that's kind of thinking of it as a 12 by 24 layout instead of 2 12 by 12s. I'm adding in this sheet of little cars on the paper. Now I'm just cutting 3-inch strips to put across both sides of the layout. For me, the little cars fits with the truck too because it's just kind of a vehicle motif. And I'm also going to bring in the red mix-in that I have here. I don't think these mix-ins are available any longer. If anything is available, I will link it down below as I usually do. And otherwise, it's just an inspiration page for you to help you be inspired on your own layouts at home. The two papers from my stash definitely have a vintage feel, so I did go with a kind of distressed motif to make my other papers fit in or blend well with them. The good thing was that the speedometer paper that I'm going to bring in right away had little red marks on it for the actual little arrow that points to what speed you're going or how full your gas tank is. And so that little bit of red just kind of helped the red come in from the paper and also my son's car, which is what I'm trying to really show off, is the color of his car. So for me, scrapbooking is about how I enjoy reliving these moments when I'm scrapbooking the page, but it is also about showing off my photos. That is the most important thing to me. So I do sometimes struggle with certain paper packs showing them to you, because if I don't have photos that work with it, I really don't want to just buy something to show it, because I really want to use papers that are going to enhance my photos. I decided to cut out the little speedometer gas meter things. They alternate between a gas meter and a speedometer. I don't know if you can see that on this video, but that's what they say on them. And I decided to cut them out because it's kind of like a scalloped border then. So I cut a fair bit of a strip out, and then I used it to embellish the page later on. I also decide that I'm covering a lot of the little car paper up, so I decide to split that paper in half. And you can see I've done that here. I cut it down the center and I've put some of it on either side of the other paper, the speedometer paper, just to make it look wider. I didn't do that to really save the paper. I did it because I'd already cut them in 3 inches and had decided I wanted it wider, and no one knows that there's no paper behind there. I also dovetailed the ends of them so that I kind of have this linear roadway or something going underneath, and I thought about moving the pieces on the right hand side in and leaving a margin, but I decided to keep them right to the end. There's a lot of different ways to distress edges. With my dovetails, I distressed them with some inking, and with this red piece, I wanted to distress it with some rolling back of the sides and edges. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this was because the back side of this red paper has a red grid on it, so red and white grid. So both sides fit with my layout. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be neat if I rolled some of the bits forward and ripped it a little bit, and then you could see some of the background or the back side of this paper. This is also where I made the right-hand side a little bit more unique. I pulled the picture of the car a little bit farther away, leaving a bit of a gap in between, but yet I wanted to continue that red on to the other side of the page just to make the page cohesive. But I didn't feel I needed nearly as much of the red because there's no red car there, so I just have that little strip on the top just to give it some cohesiveness from one side to the other. I guess another good word I could use for what I'm trying to describe is continuity. Continuity from one side of the layout to the other to make it really seem like it goes together. This is a pocket card from Hey Handsome, and I brought that in because it has what looks like tire tracks on it to me. And I also, from on the bottom of the page, I add a little strip of that, and it comes from the Hey Handsome workshop. But those two little bits are just kind of, they looked car-ish to me, so I added them in. I'm going to set one of my layouts on top of the other and set the one Versamat aside so that I can turn the second Versamat over and do some stamping for my embellishments. Because of course I don't have a specific paper pack for this layout, so I have to create my own embellishments with stamps. Now this car stamp set is an oldie. I don't even remember the name of it offhand, but let me know in the comments down below if you still own this one. I got it when my boys were little, and one of the reasons I loved it was pre-die cuts, and I really like how you can cut the little bits and pieces out to make a car up with different bits. Here I'm using 2 red inks together to kind of match the scarlet because I do not have scarlet ink. So I ended up using, I think it was tulip and ruby together, and they kind of matched the red better. But I think any of them would have been okay. Then I cut out the little bumper in gray, and I cut out the little car in red and I cut out the little tires in black. And I put them all together to make a really cute little car that was multicolored. I believe I've shown you this method before on layouts where I've made a title that I wanted was one stamp, but I wanted to have it multicolored or one of the words a different color. Sometimes you can just cut a strip and put it in there and no one will ever know that you cut a strip of white paper and placed it over top. So here I'm just putting that little car together. I'm just using the tape runner and running my thumb pressing down and getting that glue on there. And I put the bumper first and I put it right across the tires because I thought I was okay with having the little black wheels or tires raised up from the car that tiny bit. So here is that finished little embellishment. How cute is that? It basically is the same as my son's little red car. I also used a little sentiment called Fast and Furious, or it says Fast and Furious from the same stamp set. And then I went through my Stamp of the Month basket because I know that my Stamp of the Month basket had this stamp set with the road signs on it, pardon me. And those road signs were perfect for little embellishments. And my layout does have a few of this greeny hues. So I decided to go with a little bit of this, I think this is sage, stamp some of these embellishments in sage. And red and green go together. That's why at Christmas time, oftentimes we have red and green together. And I didn't want it to look Christmassy, but yet they do really complement each other because they're opposites on the color wheel. So I felt that these little embellishments really went nicely together, and you'll see them around the page that the green really does fit in well. I fussy cut those little guys out, so I had all my embellishments ready, and then I brought my layout back in, and now everything, well, not everything, but a lot of it is glued down. And I'm just figuring out where I'm going to put these little scallops and how I'm going to arrange my embellishment clusters. I was trying to be mindful of that visual triangle, so I was thinking I was going to have a cluster to the right of like where I've got the car right now, and then one on the kind of middle bottom on one page or the other, obviously, and then I wanted one up top above the truck pictures. And I need a title yet too. And all this time I've been deciding and thinking what my title is going to be. Usually I know that by now. I did like how the touches of green fit onto this page. I wouldn't have thought that green would work like this, but somehow it does. I think part of it is because one of the mats under the picture of the red car is a sage colored mat. And then there is also a little bit of greeny tones in the speedometer paper. I really wanted to see if I could get these tire tracks onto the page, and not a lot of it shows once I'm done, but I did get them on and I really like how it turned out. It looks really cute. I had a different way in mind to start with. I kind of wanted them to be bases for my embellishment clusters. By the time I got to that point on the page, they didn't seem to fit the way I wanted them anymore. So I decided to just do them more like as part of the linear layout from one side to the other, and I do really like how they turned out. The Fast and Furious subtitle is also really appropriate for my boy because he drives too fast and has had a few speeding tickets, which he deserves, and I hope they slow him down because it's hard on a mom's heart to know that their child is racing around in their little red car. I cut out some journaling strips to add to the right-hand side of the page, and I finally decided on a title, which I added in black underneath the truck, and it's going to be Milestones. I thought that was an appropriate title, and I chose black because I like how it anchored on either side of the pictures, and I felt that it would show nicely up on the patterned busy papers underneath. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Here is the finished product. I finally decided on the title Milestones, which is a little punny, but I think it's an appropriate title. So here is the one side of the layout. I've got these little guys peeking up here, and then here is the other side. And I'm just gonna make sure I've got the amount of kilometers and what he paid and the year of the car correct on here, because it's always fun to know that 20 years down the road and say, what? That's what a car cost back then? So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will hit that like and subscribe button at the end of the video. There should be a little subscribe button, and like just underneath there, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, and bye.